Good afternoon, everyone. If I could ask you to take your seats. Great. Thank you. It's so lovely to see you. I'm Natasha Azzopardi-Muscat, and I'm the Director for Health Systems at WHO Euro, also with responsibility for living and aging in good health, which is one of our key clusters in our recently approved European Programme of Work for the period 2026 to 2030. And I also, on behalf of Dr. Hans Kluge, who's outside of Copenhagen at the moment, wish you a very warm welcome and wish you a very productive two-day conference on Aging is Living. We love that tagline. As I grow older, I love it even more because it gives us hope for the future. And together you are really focused on building age-friendly communities in the Nordic-Baltic region. So welcome to colleagues from municipalities, regions, ministries, research institutions, civil society, community organizations. As I was just having the opportunity to discuss with Minister Kierkgaard, to whom we wish a warm welcome to, as well as our colleague Dr. Chitra from the Office of the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights. This is everyone's business. No single actor can tackle this alone. So, of course, it is right and fitting to also thank our partners who made this meeting possible. The Nordic Welfare Center, represented by Louise, Scheel, Thomasen. The Center for Age-Friendly Norway, represented by Berit, Rafoss. And, of course, my colleague Yongjie, who has been tirelessly advocating for healthy aging and doing much of the heavy lifting, together with the support also of our colleague Stefania Ilinka, who's responsible for long-term care. It's a small, mighty team who have succeeded in really putting this at the center of our priorities for WHO Euro. And as you can imagine, we have many priorities: health security, health workforce, climate change, but this is there, up with the 5 top priorities in our European Programme of Work. So working together with you for us is really important and is an honor. And it's your leadership that has allowed us to bring this fine gathering here together today. I think it's fair to say that this meeting is taking place at a really important moment. Across our entire region that covers 53 countries and almost 1 billion people, countries and communities are recognizing that supporting healthy aging requires more than good health and care services, because it requires creating the conditions for people to live safely, stay connected, and participate fully in community life. More or less across our region, which has, of course, one of the highest life expectancy globally, people can expect to spend 10 years of their roughly 80 years in poor health. We need to fix that. That's not a good outcome to look forward to. Women spend roughly 12 years on average, women and men 8 years because they die slightly earlier. So this is, of course, it's a gap. It's a gap that we need to close. And it's a gap that doesn't hit everyone equally. So this is an average. Behind averages in statistics lie people, and people whose chances are very, very different. So this is, of course, also very much unequally distributed in society, with people who have been exposed throughout their entire lifetime to poorer living, earning, and social conditions. They are the ones who are going to be spending more and more years in poor health before dying slightly earlier than many of us. So over the next 2 days, you will be focusing on 4 core themes. strengthening social connection. And this is extremely important, creating inclusive indoor and outdoor meeting places. Because we also know that loneliness kills. Loneliness is a risk factor in the same way as we know that there are other risk factors too, but a risk factor perhaps that we are only in recent years beginning to shine a spotlight on and probably still not doing enough about. Secondly, shaping the age-friendly environments through planning, housing, transport, so that we can support aging in place. Third, advancing co-creation so that there are meaningful local solutions, and understanding the impact, what works for whom, and more importantly, why does it work? Because this is what can help us to replicate it elsewhere. So the purpose of your conference is clear and is fully aligned and supportive to our work on the Aging is Living strategy. In this very room, less than a month ago, I had the privilege and opportunity to present a first outline for a strategy on aging is living to our member states, and I'm pleased to report that this was very, very warmly received, and we have been given the green light to prepare for the first time a formal strategy of this kind to bring it forward for adoption at next year's regional committee. But now it gives me a great pleasure to facilitate this first opening panel where we have with us Honorable Mette Kierkgaard, the Minister for Senior Citizens in Denmark, who has also hosted an important high-level event under the Danish presidency in the past weeks. And as WHO, we were delighted also to be invited to be part of this. Dr. Chitralekha, who is the chief of the Rights of Older Persons section, as I said, in the OHCHR. And unfortunately, Hillevi Busch, who is a senior analyst at the Public Health Agency of Sweden, is here. She traveled to Copenhagen, but was unable to join us because of illness. But we will convey the key messages that we were asked to also at the closing of the panel. So I guess we can move straight away, and I would ask you to give a round of applause to our panelists for being with us here in Copenhagen. And really, this is about having a conversation with two women who have the vision, the energy, the empathy, and they really feel this topic at heart and have been tireless advocates for it. So if I can start, Minister Kierkgaard, with a question to you. You have been very much focusing on Denmark's care reforms, but you want to go beyond this. Your broader vision is very much that of an age-friendly society, where the places we live, the services we rely on, the relationships we build, all enable us to age in good health, stay active, and feel value. Can you share with us this vision for an age-friendly society? What does it mean in practice? And how are you making this happen?
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very honored, and I think been exploring a lot of also the UN and the WHO's and OECD's work on age-friendly society, and I think I'm so happy that finally we in Denmark are beginning to board this whole discussion also at a national level, because of course, as you know, in communities, in cities and so on, it's bubbling and living a lot of it already. So thank you very much, and I'll try to answer in 1 minute. Is that the first one? No, just kidding. But that was, yeah. But maybe I would like to start with what you, Natasha, also were talking about, namely that our whole societies are transforming. And this, of course, also counts for a Danish society, because just in 15 years' time, our population, about 1/4 of our population will be 67 years of age or more, which is the first time in history we have seen this demographic transition, which, as you know, also counts for a lot of other countries also across the globe. And just to say, the most important thing is that what a delight. I mean, what a success. I mean, we're so lucky that we see this transition, that we are living longer, living more healthy lives at a general level and so on. And we know from studies that it's at the age of 60, we actually are most intelligent. I'm only 53, so I'm looking for the best years to come. But it's just to always remember that it's a potential, it's a resource, that we are becoming much older as a society. And then I also want to say that you were stressing also that it hits differently. So we also have matters of inequality. And in a Danish respect, actually, we have 3 reforms approaching to this demographic reform or development. First, we have the long-term care reform. I could talk a lot about that, but and maybe we'll return to it in a little. But we have the elderly care reform, where we have launched 5 new regulations, 21 initiatives, and the whole point is we have to rethink the whole system from the beginning. And I could talk a lot about that, but that's long-term care reform. Then we also have a dignity reform, because what we see in Denmark is that also the most vulnerable people in our society, homeless people, people with psychiatric challenges, people who are very vulnerable in social regards and so on, these people also get older. They get older at a prior age, about 70 years before the general population, but this is also a growing group. And in Denmark, we have also completed a dignity reform, because we don't help these people in a proper manner. And then, of course, we have the whole age-friendly society reform. And should I say a little about that or return? Yes. But it's just to say it's a 3-legged approach to this demographic change. And I'm very, very happy that we just a couple of weeks ago launched a new council from the government's perspective, or from the government side, where we have a council of 15 representatives, a broad representation throughout society, and they have to come up with a vision for age-friendly Denmark by the time of April, May, and then we take it back into the government and to say, what are we going to do with that as a strategy? How should we work with that at a government level? And that addresses some of the things you already touched upon, Natasha. Mobility, transportation, what kind of housing, what kind of city centers, how should our city centers look like? What about loneliness, relations, communities? What about digital inclusion? What about a labor market, at least in Denmark, even though we have more seniors in the labor market than ever, also because of, for a number of reasons, we still have much more people who want to join labor market also in their senior lives and so on. So we address all different kind of themes, or this council should address all different kind of themes. We are very actually inspired by Norway. I visited Norway a couple of weeks ago. Very, very inspiring. And the other thing, and maybe that should be the last thing I say in this first round, is I think it's so important it's not only a government and council thing. We have to make age-friendly society a public movement. And that's why we also create an alliance. Right now we have about 70, 80 different organizations that work you know, from a bottom-up perspective, architects, funding, funds, and so on, all different kind of parties and agencies working from about ideas bubbling for age-friendly society. Because I think this is our moment, as you were also saying, and we should be so aware we don't just sit in departments in the ministries deciding what we should live like, but we should have all agents and all resources in place. So a council and an alliance, and I look so much forward to their proposal for a vision and how we could work further with this in next summer. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And of course, we will be following your journey very closely, because there are so many countries that are really looking at the Nordic countries for inspiration too. And this is the moment, yes, of course, why in 2024, for the first time, these two lines crossed, and now we have more people aged over 65 than we have under 15 in the region. And I was in Lithuania at the start of last week, just a week ago, when people were really looking at how can we ensure also that our societies still continue to have babies, children, young people, but on the other hand, here and now we have this cohort of older people who deserve to live an age in good health. And when we talk about good health, we mean, as WHO, physical, mental and social, because we can't just focus only on metabolic parameters. I think we need to move away from this, and we need to really see people as people. And yes, it is the moment, and the recent decision by the Human Rights Council to begin drafting a new convention on the rights of older persons, for example, is a historic step. But what I would like to hear from you, Chitra, is how can we ensure that this global momentum doesn't sort of only stay on paper, in a law, but actually is translated and makes a difference every day in people's lives at local level?
Thank you, Natasha. Minister, congratulations. Your words were music to my ears, because this is the kind of thing we've been pushing for. As many of you may be aware that the UN has some different programs. So we have the Human Rights City Initiative, we have the Healthy City Initiatives, and recently we've been having the SDG City Initiative. But all of them are grounded in common human rights principles, which are at the heart of everything that the UN does together with member states, or at least in principle. That's where we all should be going, in the same direction. So let's take a look at where we are with this convention first. I'll try to be brief. It's a bit of my subject too close to my heart, and I tend to go on for long. So I will look at Natasha to see if I haven't gone too much over the time. So let me just say, it's very important to remember that this moment, this historic moment, has not happened overnight. It has taken the member states of the United Nations 20 years of discussions before they have actually concluded and adopted this resolution by consensus this year in 2025, saying that yes, there are legal gaps that exist in the current human rights framework that are emerging and new, that are not being catered to, and that is resulting in significant violence, abuse, neglect, and many forms of challenges across the life of older persons. It's not one area. You can see it in so many multiple aspects. I also want to, as before I step further, take a step back and say something which all of us know. We always say from the time of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. So for 80 years we've been saying this. All rights are interlinked, indivisible, interdependent, right? And in the same way, we really have to think about aging. As both Natasha and the minister have said, this is one of the biggest successes of our lifetimes, that we have longevity, that science and technology has advanced so that we no longer think of 35 or 55 as a time to give up everything and die. This is the time when we are getting more excited about the fact that we may be more financially sound, we may be in a secure place with housing, different things. But why is it that this cohort of people, the minute they turn 65 and retire, become invisible? So here we have the first challenge, that we believe that these people somehow have nothing left to contribute to society. And I think that this shift in the narrative of aging, that aging equals decline, there is a very, very strong imperative that we shift this. We shift this to the fact that aging must be seen as a time of continuation, a time of achievement, a time of contribution. And I'm one of those people who says, why do we as lawyers not talk about the happiness factor? Isn't this what all humanity and human rights is about? Why is it that if you're 65 or 75, you do not deserve to be happy, or you must be miserable? You know, very recently I was asked by a medical doctor saying, so, do you think people over 75 should date? And I said, do human rights have an expiry date? Does romance have an expiry date? Why is it that older people people who have just become 65 or 60 should no longer have any emotions? And there was a moment I was just thinking, this is being recorded. Am I going to get trouble in office? Because I'm about to say something that I should not be even mentioning. I said, does sexual desire die with age? And I was a bit provocative. So I'm just saying that, we really have to think like this. We're human beings. So now I step back and I come back to the fact that we've had this historic decision. We know what each one of us wants our life to be. And so this legal document that all the member states, 86 member states, have co-sponsored this resolution at the United Nations. It's a powerful call to action. But remember that aging is not homogeneous. Aging is complex. How are we going to make this new legally binding instrument meaningful for every older person in the world is going to be the challenge. Where are we going to learn? And this is where I see a wonderful opportunity for this region, because you've been leaders, for example, on gender equality like no other region in the world has been. For me, I'm here and I'm saying it's time to take the leadership and show what you're doing. For example, in Uppsala, you showed that how participation and engagement to create a community space that is meaningful and actually enjoyed by older persons is possible. So this is one example, but there are many other areas where we can go forward. All of this must feed into the new legally binding instrument. It is going to be a member state-led event, but it is very strong in its commitment and call to saying that representatives of older persons, organizations working in the right of older persons, member states driven, and UN specialist agencies, what are all the learning that we are doing? We should all be there to talk about it and give our inputs, because we want a meaningful treaty at the end of the day. And I'm going to stop here.
Thank you very much, Chitra. And thank you for reminding us that that several parts of our being just don't expire with age. I've discovered now that I'm practically sharing the same age as Mette. I turned 53 in 2026, so we are bound also, I guess, very much by this stage of our lives too. And I know that you have another pressing commitment, so I just would have one other question for you. We are talking, yes, about creating age-friendly societies, about building prevention, but at the moment, the reality is that the current cohort of older persons that we have with us, 1 in 3 people aged over 80, require some form of care, and far too many across the region are not able to access the care they need to remain functionally independent. And I was so struck by something you said in your opening speech at the other event that I actually took it home to my parents too. You said something about giving more autonomy for older persons to participate and actively shape their care plans. And I remember you said something about, if an older person feels that if the calendar says that they should be washed on this day, and they just wake up not in a mood for having the bath, and they want to postpone it till the following day. Does the person and the carer have sufficient autonomy in their decision making to actually respond to the needs? I was really struck by that statement. So maybe if you can share with us briefly, what are the main tenets of the reform that you are trying to bring in to make it more human?
Yes, thank you very much. And it's correct that just on July 1st, the elderly law, which is one out of a big reform complex, actually 5 laws in total and 21 initiatives, but they all were initiated, and they all center around the same 3 values. So all 5 laws and 21 initiatives centers around the same 3 values, namely autonomy and self-determination for the elderly, trust in the employees and managers and their competences, and thirdly, collaboration between professionals, civil societies, and local communities. And just let me elaborate a little on that. The key value of human beings in the reform is that elderly people that receives care are just as different as the rest of us. Because elderly care is not about specialized healthcare programs. Elderly care is about helping with practical things. It's about helping with hygiene, with getting up in the morning, having a shower. It's helping with rehabilitation. And this is everyday activities. And just because you come in the situation where you need elderly care, you just don't suddenly want to get up every morning at 7 o'clock if you are used to get up at 10 o'clock. So the whole value is that elderly people receiving elderly care are just as different as the rest of us when it comes to daily activities, and daily help, which elderly care is all about. And in order to make this happen, to have this autonomy and self-determination of how elderly care is performed, we need also the professionals to have the flexibility, because you cannot be flexible on the help elderly care person on the care elderly person needs if you don't have flexibility as professionals. And you cannot be flexible if you're not working together with the rest of the employees, because often, an elderly person needs different kind of help. And if you want to be flexible by saying, this shower today is really, I cannot, I know we had a shower plan, but I didn't sleep well all night, so I rather have a conversation with one of the people or professionals I really trust, then we should have a flexibility in the care system. So we also have to have trust in the people, professionals giving the care, and having them work together. So the setup is basically that we have a team of professionals with all different kind of qualifications, have the responsibility for a group of elderly people, and then they should meet the needs coming from the elderly person. And that seems simple, but because our legislation up to now has been in a whole different mindset. It has been in a mindset where we have centralized visitation, where we have a lot of documentation, where people are not working together, where the help to the elderly has been in a scheme that is planned minute by minute and so on. So this whole new public management idea that has been so widespread for the last 15, 20 years in Denmark, and I know a lot of other countries. So the whole system, the whole way of leadership and the whole legislation has promoted a very malfunctioning elderly care. So that is why I think the the biggest achievement of the elderly care reform is that we change legislation, steering, organization, governance regimes, cultures, competences, organization, and so on, and culture, of course. And that takes some time. I mean, we only started in July, but I think that's the main contribution. And maybe just one more thing. Also the third value, namely that we have to promote collaboration between professionals in the elderly care system and local communities, relatives, and civil society organizations, because at least in Denmark, we have had for the last 90 years a tendency to focus too much on elderly care only to be a matter about what professionals do. But if the goal of the elder reform, which is life quality and happiness of life, and what creates that? That's also all the communities, that the good talks, it's the streets talks, it's activities, meaningful activities, and so on. So the part of the elder reform, the third value, first, self-determination, autonomy for the elderly. Second, trust in the managers and employees, and then collaboration with civil society, is that life quality is about communities and meaningful activities. So we have to unite professionals and civil society.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Mette. And I think these three principles really resonate with me, and I'm sure we will find ways also to build them into our draft strategy. Chitra, if I can come back to you. We have, I think, almost 200 people, more or less, participating. And I always say that the huge impact of these events is what every single individual is going to do the moment they return to their place of work, having been inspired and energized by what they hear here. And maybe they can't impact directly on the convention itself, but what would you say are the practical steps that we can translate and take from the work around the convention that leaders at local level, civil society, can do something about? I'd like you to inspire our audience, fire them up, so that as they go through the rest of the conference, they can keep in mind, what am I going to do as I leave the UN city?
Interesting. Now I have to think really hard. So it's a very interesting time, and I'm just buying myself time thinking what to say actually to Natasha's question. As Natasha was asking this, there's a graph that came to my mind because of something that both Mette and Natasha said. It shows a very simple moment in time in our history, that in 2019, for the first time in world history, we had more people over 65 globally than we had children under 5. By 2040, that gap is significantly bigger. So here you have the situation where a lot of people are talking about that the younger generation is feeling cheated and is going to increasingly feel cheated, right? So we have this one fact, and I put it aside. And I come back to the fact that what can all of us do? So it's a very simple thing for me, but simple things are not necessarily easy to achieve. What would we like? I come back to the fact that we have to think of this as an opportunity, that the historic moment in time where you have an international legally binding instrument that is going to be drafted. In my opinion, all of you should be involved, and there is the possibility for each of you to be involved, to give your inputs in terms of what is working well, what is your priority. But really, in my opinion, you have to think about what is it that you want your old age to be, and think of this opportunity as a time of investment, not just for us here today as we are all aging, but also for that child who is 5 years old today, but is the future older person. What do we want to think in terms of, here's a piece of legislation that will make our lives better, but equally will be relevant and meaningful for that generation as they grow older. And this is something I want to come back to a little bit, if I may. I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting with the co-president of the senior women's group that took Switzerland to court at the European Court of Human Rights, the Klimaseniorinnen. This is a group of 2,500 women over the age of 60 who battled for 8 years to get justice because they said that the government of Switzerland, and this is another shocker, right? Because you think of Switzerland and you think everything is wonderful, right? So here are 2,500 Swiss women who said, our government is not doing enough for us because we as women are impacted far more significantly by climate change. Why has the government not done what it should do? It took them 8 years. They are now fighting to get that same decision implemented. And who is supporting them and coming closer to them is the younger people. So for me, I think that as we take this task ahead, we have to make sure that the younger people of today are equally involved because they should see it as an investment in their future. If this is one thing I'd like you to take away from this, is this, that we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. And if I may add one more point, it's a very simple human failing. What we don't see, what we don't count, or what we can't measure, we don't react to it. Our gap of data on older persons is a global problem. No legislation or policy is going to be effective unless we are improving our data collection. It's a little bit boring, but there you have it, a hard reality of life. So I would say that 2 things, please, if you can do them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, this was a fantastic start. Data, absolutely. What is not measured is invisible. I think you said about us older people being invisible. They are invisible because if we don't have the data, then they become less visible. I also had the pleasure to sit on a panel with one of those formidable Swiss women. And I think you bring 2 important messages. Again, being the Nordic-Baltic regions, please keep gender, the backlash against women. Last week, we launched a report on ending violence against women and girls. Older women are, of course, part of this equation and are often just less visible than the younger woman. And the important point around intergenerational solidarity, that this should not be just about older persons. Allow me perhaps to close by also sharing a reflection on behalf of Hillevi. She was going to speak very much about reducing loneliness, which I think talks to pillar 3 of the Danish reform. And she was going to make the point about also starting with the physical environment, which far too often confines older persons to the indoors. And the first goal of the Swedish strategy against loneliness is about really making social spaces accessible to all people. And we at WHO, of course, welcome social infrastructures, local stores, green spaces, benches. These are the foundations of everyday life. And they can help to create safety, mobility, and spontaneous encounters, which are something that we have lost a lot. I remember walking back from the church to her home with my grandmother, and the walk, which was 5 minutes, used to take longer than the mass itself. And today we miss these spontaneous encounters because many of our streets are so empty. So just perhaps to close this wrap-up session, and again, thank you, Mette and Chitra, for being here with us, for sharing so openly. I hope we have set a tone for spontaneity and openness to be the hallmark of your meeting over the next 2 days. And I very much look forward also to hearing from my colleagues about the outcome. And I think Chitra has also given us all some homework to do. And we will be walking along with Mette in the implementation of her reform. And we look to the Nordic and Baltic countries also very much to be inspiring other countries in the region who are also maybe aging in different ways. In Southern Europe, what we see is the loss, for example, of family networks not being replaced sufficiently fast by the care infrastructures, and even as far as Central Asia, where they are still young countries, but they are looking already because they know that they will age even more rapidly than we have aged in Western Europe. So thank you very much. I'll leave you here and hand back, I think, to Yongjie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the excellent opening panel. And we thank the ministers and Chitra and Natasha for your time. My name is Yongjie Yon, and we welcome you to the UN City, home of the WHO European region, where we support our 53 countries. But of course, we also work with subnational government and local authorities. And this is a UN house where we have 11 UN agencies here today. And you'll see UN coming together, working for you and working with you. So we're really delighted to welcome you. One thing I would wish this 2 days is to get to know you better. I'm a firm believer in connections before content. So we hope that during breaks, discussion, we can get to know one another and really bring this age-friendly world closer in our world today. And so I want to pass the floor to our co-organizers, Louise.
Thank you, Yongjie. Just a brief welcome also on behalf of the Nordic Welfare Center. My name is Louise Scheel Thomasen, and I work in a position where I know we have a lot to learn from inspiration and exchange across both the Baltic and Nordic regions. So I'm really pleased to see a lot of you delegates, presenters, as well as participants who represent a really broad range of the region. And thank you all for being here. And Berit Rafoss, our next colleague.
Thank you so much. I work for the Centre for an Age-Friendly Norway, the Norwegian Health Directorate. And I was here 2 years ago, so it's so lovely to be back. We're almost twice, or even more, than we were last time. So that really shows progress. And I look forward to these 2 days, also focusing even more on age-friendly. There was a little bit too much care for my liking. Let's move a bit before, prevention and age-friendly. And I really look forward to these 2 days with you.
So I think I forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Yongjie Yon. I'm the technical officer for Aging in Good Health. So if you haven't received your sticker or the badge, please go to the back. Olga at the back will give it to you. Why is this important? I would invite my security colleague officer to explain why it is so important to talk a little bit about UN security.
Thank you very much. First of all, welcome all of you, dear participants, to UN City. And my name is Vasko Mitevski. I'm from the security services here in UN City. So we're providing security coverage of this beautiful building 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, and all the time we have security presence during the day and during the night. As you already notice on the way when you're entering inside of UN City, we have the same procedure, screening procedure as you have at the airports. Why? Because we need to have a secure place where everyone can feel safe and your meetings here to be well organized and in terms of safety also. What is important for you? I believe all of you, most of you have already received your badges, and your badges, you know that is a personal badge. Behind your badge, we know the name. And it's very important for these 2 days when you are entering and leaving out of the premises to use only for yourself the badges. You cannot deliver the badge to another person. Because we have the system, every time when you're swapping your badge, we know who exactly went out or again enter inside of the building. Saying that, on the first day on arrival, you was already screened. Tomorrow when you will come again, you don't need to go through our security colleagues. You can just swipe your card on the turnstiles and directly get inside into the building. You need to swipe. There is one small like remote controller, I'm saying, on the turnstiles, and over there is the place where you need to touch the badge and getting you directly inside. You will see the green light. That means you can enter. Security, we have our offices when we enter the building on the left side, close to the cash machine. You can see security office. If you need some questions, if you need whatever kind of assistance, you can just knock on our door, and we have all the time colleagues who will assist you. Our presence is here from the very early in the morning, opening the PAF area from 6:30, and 19:45, meaning almost 8 o'clock in the evening, when the PAF is closed. We have presence 24 hours, but the PAF entering and exiting is opening 6:30 and closing 7:45. Important for consideration is that on the card, again, you have our contact details. If you will open the card from the back side, you can find the phone number. In case if you need us to call, you can call directly. Our security colleagues are present in the PAF, in the lobby area, around the reception. We are patrolling also outside the building, so always we have presence. You can meet our security colleagues if you need to ask them whatever question you have. They are here to support you always. Very important for you to know that smoking is not allowed at UN City, also outside of the building. That means if someone needs to smoke, you need to go outside from the PAF. We call PAF primary access to the facility, because UN City is built at it's an island, and that's the primary access. From over there, you can only entry and exit. So if you need to smoke, you need to go outside, swiping your card, the turnstile is opening, have a cigarette, and after that you can come back inside. Also inside of the building, these electronic cigarettes are not allowed. So we had many cases when people are going into the bathrooms and trying to smoke those electronic cigarettes, but it directly triggered the alarm system for the fire, and that means the fire, when it's triggered, everybody needs to evacuate and to go outside. In case of something like that happened, don't panic, just slowly evacuate the building and go outside. But hopefully we'll have no cases like that one. Emergency exit are also, we have emergency doors left and right, but as I said, just follow to the lobby area in case of need, and you will have also floor wardens in coordination with our security colleagues who will give you the guidance what you need to do. And also we have speaker system who will all the time say if something is happening, emergency situation, what is required by you to do the next steps. I will just say that also we have medical clinic here in case of something is needed. You can contact us and we can call the clinic and we can provide you with medical support also. I will not take more of your time. Do you have any questions related to me, to the security? If you have, feel free, please. If not, I wish you a pleasant stay for these 2 days and successful meetings. Thank you very much.
So, just a few more household messages. This conference is being recorded. There's no one watching online, but we are on camera in a way. You will receive a link after the conference to the recordings, and you're warmly welcome to share them with colleagues or other interested. My colleague Maja Markula, maybe you can raise your hand there at the back if you look behind you, young lady in black. She will be taking photos and making little videos for social media. So please note that there will be pictures being taken place here at this conference. And if you don't feel like being featured in the background of a video, just please observe when recording is going on. So back to age friendliness. At the Nordic Welfare Center since 2017, we have coordinated a network for Nordic cities and communities that are members of the WHO Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. Currently, it consists of 25 cities across the Nordic region, as well as Center for an Age-Friendly Norway and the lucky region of Jönköping in Sweden. And what all these members have in common is that they work within the wider age-friendly framework developed by the WHO that spans across urban environment, transportation and housing, combating ageism, and building thriving local communities, as well as support and health services. And cross-sectoral collaboration, intergenerational contact, as well as the involvement of older people in the development are key to age-friendly communities. And I think this will be reflected also in the program for this conference. Today, we will have a focus on how we can strengthen social connection through meeting places, and later on how we can create inclusive and accessible environments through urban planning. We will also have 3 parallel sessions. You will get more information about those at the end of the session that we are about to introduce, or that I will introduce. This is on strengthening social connection and reducing loneliness. So please welcome here on stage, and maybe the little signs could just slide up at the same time. That would be great. From Denmark, Dominique Hauderovic, architect and partner from the company Dominique plus Serena. And from Finland, Saija Kultala from Turku, and also coordinator for Age-Friendly Turku. From Latvia, Ramona Jasevica, from the Public Library of Galinsiems. And from Uppsala, Sweden, you're already here, Kenny Jansson. And the moderator for the session is my dear colleague, Berit Rafoss from the Center for an Age-Friendly Norway. Please enjoy.
Thank you so much, Louise. I really believe in this coming together like we're doing here, sharing and learning and being inspired. And I urge you all to take this inspiration back home with you in your age-friendly work locally. So I have the pleasure of moderating this session on strengthening social connection and reducing loneliness. Now, one of the best ways to do that, to strengthen social connections and reduce loneliness, I believe, is in creating and facilitating meeting places. In many ways, I think it's one of the most important things we can do within the age-friendly work, alongside transport and housing. In order to create more accessible and inclusive age-friendly societies, the meeting places also need to reflect this inclusiveness and accessibility. In that way, we promote social interaction, unity, social cohesion, we prevent loneliness and social isolation. And I think it's interesting that we've digitalized and individualized our societies so much that today loneliness is a global health threat. Just think about that. We've really been moving in the wrong direction. And the WHO Commission on Social Connection as well, doing incredibly important work. Sweden has launched a strategy on loneliness. Let's hope other countries will follow. Now, meeting places can focus on physical activities or social and cultural interaction. And when creating or facilitating a meeting place, it's important to consider information, communication, how to get there, what's happening, when is it happening. We talk a lot about co-creation, and we do it a lot as well with older people. And they say, yes, there are a lot of meeting places, lots of activities, but we can't find the information about it. We don't know where or when, etc. So yes, we still need to do the social media and the websites, but we also need to do the old school, the posters, the slips in the postbox. Because, you know, we can have all the great activities and meeting places in the world. It doesn't help if you can't really get there or you know about them. And they need to be accessible. The transport to and from the meeting place, but also the venue itself. And if you don't have public transport available, well, then see if you can come up with some alternatives. It's important also to think about diversity, to really reflect the diverse societies that we have today. And we really have to get better at creating these intergenerational spaces where we can come together across generations. And these meeting places can be spontaneous or organized, formal and informal. So, in the Norwegian Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities, we've focused on meeting places for a long time. From 22 to 24, we focus on outdoor meeting places. This was actually very much prompted by older people themselves after the pandemic. So we had a national call, and we gathered a lot of great examples from all over the country, and we created 4 webinars and this publication here, Active and Social at All Ages. I have some copies with me, should you want them, in English as well. Now, we've literally moved indoors, so for the next couple of years, we'll focus on indoor meeting places. And we already had a national call. We received over 90 good examples from all over the country of good indoor meeting places. So again, we'll start a series of webinars, maybe a publication, where we highlight good examples and relevant research. And there are so many different kinds of meeting places, and we haven't restricted ourselves. We were open to receiving all sorts, so we have a big variety. A lot of the meeting places are, of course, your traditional senior centres, and also volunteer centres or volunteer centrals, which is very common in Norway. But then we try to further categorise different meeting places. For example, focusing on knowledge. You can have libraries or senior universities, cultural activities, festivals. You can have physical activities, walking clubs, etc. Intergenerational, having these activities that are open to all generations. Commercial, by commercial we mean maybe more cafes, maybe more your local supermarket, your local shops. They can also be meeting places. And then we have a big bag of miscellaneous that we couldn't really place in any of these, which is maybe one of the most exciting categories, because we see a lot of creativity here. So now in these times when budget cuts are coming to us all, for example, one municipality said, okay, we can't have both a senior centre and a youth club. What do? We put them together. We share location, we share staff. First, they had separate agendas, now they'll have a common agenda. How good is that? That comes from a diversity, but you create a good solution. Then in a coastal city, they had a lot of these old shipping containers that was just standing there. And they got together across different sectors and generations and created meeting places. So now you have old lorry drivers with young skaters enjoying the same spaces. So I think there's a lot of creativity out there, and we need to be even more. We will try to focus when we try and choose these examples that we'll lift up, maybe on some innovation, transferability, maybe original use of spaces, and collaboration across. I found this quote and I really liked it. The twin sister to loneliness is uselessness. Don't know if you've heard it before. I hadn't. I really liked it. Because in our dialogue with older people, we hear a lot about we want to be heard, we want to be seen, but more than anything, we want our experience and our skills and knowledge to be used, to be utilised, come to good use. Let's keep this in mind. As we're facing budget cuts and shortage of staff in many places, we need to keep focusing on our meeting places. They're more important than ever, I would say. To have a network through your meeting places or activities is so important. For example, in order to build resilience when we have to face maybe a new pandemic, climate disaster, floods, etc., or even conflict. This is also a big part of the upcoming global conference that we'll have in Spain next year. Transforming together a connected, equitable and sustainable age-friendly world for all generations. Quite ambitious. I'll say a little bit more about it tomorrow. But one of the things that we tried to do there in that conference is look at where do we go from now? How do we create more resilience in the older population? We might have to change the framework of age-friendly. We might actually have to change some of the domains to reflect this new reality that we have at the moment. Now we're lucky to have 4 excellent presenters who in different ways will share us some great examples of meeting places in 4 different countries. First up is you, Dominic. You will talk about thoughtful design for everyday encounters. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation and the possibility to speak to you today. Yes, my name is Dominique Haudrovic. I'm an architect and partner in the architectural office Dominique and Serena. We have been engaged in the topic of age inclusion for quite a few years. We published a book in 2020 that was an exercise in how to bridge the gap of knowledge between knowing about age inclusion and age friendliness and spatial practice. And the book and our practice is completely aligned. So we practice what we know, and try to integrate age friendliness and age inclusion in all of our architectural work. Today, I'm going to speak on the basis of a project that we are currently involved in that is called Places We Meet, and that is an initiative by the philanthropic organization Realdania. And it's a multidisciplinary project initiated by the foundation to engage with how the built environment can help reduce loneliness and foster social engagement in the built environment. We have been carrying out accompanying research for this project from an architectural and spatial point of view, and have been joined by our colleagues from the EGV Foundation, the Foundation for Social Inclusion of Older Adults, that have been carrying out and are currently carrying out accompanying research from a socio-cultural point of view. So I'm not going to dive very deep into the project itself. This is kind of to give you a sense of our methodology, but I just want to introduce the framework for the project. So it started off with an open call for meeting places where people could send in their proposals of where they see a potential in their local communities to create an age-inclusive meeting place. Then they were chosen, and we were invited to do a framing work, trying to build a common understanding of the spatial and sociocultural terminology, focusing on the everyday life. And it was very much for us also transmitting the know-how, the knowledge that we have gathered through our work and how to work with age inclusion in spatial practice, to give that to the project owners themselves. We have done some baseline assessments of the projects that have been chosen. So this is very much about identifying potential barriers and hindrances, but also focusing on the particular possibilities that are inhabited within these particular situations. Now we have moved into proposal review stage. So this means that the local communities and their architects and the professionals that are engaged in the projects have made proposals for physical transformations that are currently being reviewed. And it's a multi-level process. So the projects that are living up to the expected standards are moving into the realization phase that will take place from now on, also financially supported by Realdania. And there is an impact follow-up study that will follow the projects and see how and they live up to the expectations that have been made from the beginning, and also where there will be done quality assessment. And this is to say that when we work with meeting places for older adults, we have this fundamental dilemma. And we often use this quote from Glenda Laws: as we age, our place in society both materially and metaphorically changes. The material spaces and places in which we live and engage in leisure activities are age-graded, and in turn, age is associated with particular places and spaces. The urban built environment is simultaneously a cause and an effect of ageist attitudes. And I think this is very, very important. We use age to categorize our society, and that can be very practical, but that can also stand in the way of creating meeting places across generations and meeting places for everyone. So I'm now preaching to the choir here. We know everyone is different, and that doesn't change with age, and the needs and wants and wishes of each individual is dependent on an interplay of a broad sense of factors: social interests, physical and emotional abilities, mental capacities, social skills, etc. Often people ask us what could be a good meeting place for elderly people, and I think this is just a selection of the projects from the Places We Meet initiative, and you can see how broad of a point of departure we could have. So the one closest to the left, is an abandoned train station. Number 2 is an urban corner within the city. Number 3 is a renovation project of a historic building complex, where the renovation of the building itself is kind of the point of departure for the meeting place. The 4th one is an access space in front of a supermarket, and the 5th one is an abandoned or underused service building in a recycling station. And all of those can make up good places for people to meet. What I think is important to point to here when we work with meeting places is very important that we consider not only the specific building, not only the specific room that we want to work with, but to take a broader look also in the neighborhood. Where is the building situated? What is the fabric of the place made up of? So this particular building, for instance, that is being transformed here is this service building on a local recycling station in a residential area that has already gone through an urban renewal project, but has been identified by the community members themselves as holding a special potential for being a social gathering place, both because people go there all the time because they have recycling to do, but also because it's on the way to a shopping mall on the other side of the street. So it's actually a place where people come by. And then we do all kinds of analysis of the physical building structure itself. What does it look like? What kind of microclimate does it create? What does it mean for a building that it has like a huge closed facade facing to the south? What does it mean that we have a window on the corner that creates a special opportunity for people to have a peek inside, etc.? So it's a huge variety of questions that we can pose. And as I said, I'm not going to go into the specific work, but I would like to invite you along the journey of what we do and what kind of questions we ask. And we also invite our project partners to ask when they are faced with a building like that and really want to turn it into something that could be a meeting place. So, what brings people together? What is the focus of the gathering? Very simple and key question. Not everyone has the ability or the wish or the interest to participate in structured activities. Consider how you can make meetings surrounding something else, but trying to figure out what is the nature of the meeting that you're trying to create. Do you want to create like a third space, like an extension of people's living room where they'll be staying for hours? Or is it okay that they just pop in and exchange a quick talk for 5 minutes? And reflecting upon that is essential because it kind of also informs all the next stages of what you do. What sizes should the rooms have? If you want to create an intimate atmosphere that is family-like, then maybe the spaces in which the meeting takes place also should have a family size. We work with this as architects, but we are all human. We have a kind of natural and instinctive understanding of the spaces that we are in. And often we know instinctively that institutional settings are unnatural to us or we don't feel at home in them. Often these things can be changed by simple means. Skillful arrangement of furniture, plants, or etc. can make a big difference. Then it's important to know if you're trying to create an age-specific or an age-neutral place. An age-specific place would be a place that implicitly or explicitly is targeting a certain age group, or if age doesn't matter in the space that you're creating. It's also about knowing if you're making a space for someone and trying to invite someone else, or if it's a general space where everyone is welcome. And then another thing that maybe we also don't often think about is how the places dictate or encourage certain roles. It's very hard to take ownership of a place if you don't have the keys to all the rooms, or if there's a coffee machine that you cannot use because you don't know how to use it. And if you really want to create spaces where people take ownership, take autonomy, and initiate their own activities, it's also important to think about these small practicalities. This sense of autonomy, it was also mentioned before, is very important. So we usually say that a good place, a good meeting place, should cater to two main themes. One is agency, is how you create spaces that give people the freedom, the opportunity, and the tools to take action, to do and engage how they want. And belonging is about how you can make spaces that help foster social connections. And older adults often have had a long time to create and foster belonging in a certain community. That's also why it's very traumatic to be moved to, or potentially traumatic to be moved to an elderly home. So we say usually that our foremost task is to create physical environments where different people can participate in ways that match their ongoing and changing wishes and abilities. And again, more than accessibility, let's think about what are inconvenient physical barriers. And even though we check all the accessibility boxes, barriers are very subjective. A barrier can also be the uncertainty if there will be someone to help at the place where you're going. It can also be the not knowing what the rules of the place are. We should think about how the things that we do to reduce barriers can add value, and maybe not only add value to the people who are confronted with the barriers, but for everyone. So making solutions that cater to the broad population, to everyone, so that everyone feels invited. And comfort, also a key point. If we don't feel comfortable, we cannot contribute and we cannot meet anyone. So if we're talking about furniture, this is indoor and outdoor. Both quality, geometry, and materials should be considered. What kind of tone does it set for the room that we are trying to make? A space where many people are gathered usually is very demanding acoustically. A light makes a lot of difference also for the atmosphere that we sense. And this is true if you have impaired vision or impaired hearing, but also just for everyone else. We think it's important that we focus on these spaces of everyday life. We think they hold the most potential. A walk anywhere or a quick meeting over a coffee machine, this having a sense of being a citizen among other citizens is a key value. And a good understanding of the existing everyday life of a place can help us. It can help us because we can improve the conditions around the social interactions that are already taking place, but they can also help us to situate new meeting places geographically in the right places. So two key questions would be, where do meetings take place? It's often easier to improve the conditions of this existing everyday life than to trying to invent something from scratch. And what qualities are there in the particular place that can be further developed? That would also be a quick question. Then we say thresholds. Inside, outside, thresholds between public and private, etc. There are spaces to be worked with, and spaces that can actually make a huge difference if someone feels invited into a meeting place. So Inviting spatial situations can create smoother transitions. Windows can open views into buildings, thereby preparing arriving people for the life inside, just as nearby outdoor spaces can be designed as transitional zones where regular users and newcomers can observe each other on neutral ground. It can be extending some existing activities out into the outdoor spaces, or trying to reduce both the physical and the mental barriers that people need to overcome. How do the places signal that they're relevant and open to everyone? Is it something about the way that you access a space? Well, how many things do you need to overcome to actually partake in the meeting place? Is a key question. And then a very important point for us is to also recognize that we are living in a society where engagement is often talked about as something where we sit and interact each other, we talk, etc. But there are many ways to be engaged with one another. There are many ways to participate, and we use this from active to passive, from withdrawn to the center. And this is also something that you can consider both in the way that you design urban spaces, but also the way that indoor meeting spaces are furnished. How do you come into the space? What is offered to you as you come alone versus if you come in a group? So how can different ways of participation be accommodated? A spatial layout that allows for multiplicity of ways of engagement is very important. Can you just pass by and check it out, or do you need to be in the center of attention? And also, maybe we should try to talk more about atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere is it that we're trying to create around the places that we're meeting? For some of us, sitting and drinking coffee is very nice. Some people have never done that if have not been inside a workshop, for instance. So their gathering place and the culture that they bring with them is coupled to something completely else. And this sense of atmosphere is absolutely something that we can build upon, both in the indoor and outdoor environments. So these are just the array of questions and considerations that we can use as a point of departure when we work with age-inclusive spaces. And that was that for me. I invite you to look into the publications that can also be found on Real Danish homepage.
Thank you so much, Dominic. I wish we all had more architects on board, so I'm jealous of Denmark. But let this be an inspiration to other countries. And we look forward to the insight and the research after a few years, because I'm sure we can all use that. Our next presenter is Kenning, who will talk about Man is the Joy of Man, Norse social wisdom in an individualized modern society. Floor is yours, Kenning.
Thank you so much, Berit. Forgot my glasses. Guess I'll need them. So I'll start off to bring some understanding of this rather perhaps cheesy title, but you will get it underway. In the Norse poem Havamal, Odin, the pre-Christian Nordic god of wisdom and war, give advice on how to best lead a successful life. And with the Viking setting, one might think that there is a lot of advice on pillaging and warfare and such. But on the contrary, Havamal spends a lot of attention on social relations, how to behave, how to be a good host, how to treat friends and strangers, the strength of weak ties and of strong ties. For example, the young fir that falls and rots, having neither needles nor bark, So is the fate of the friendless man. Why should he live long? Young and alone on a long road, once I lost my way. Rich I felt when I found another. Man is the joy of man. So this is not that shocking, considering the importance of allies, friends and kin in a society lacking strong civic institutions. Your chances of survival lies not in your weapons primarily, but in your social relations. In pre-Christian times, Uppsala, just north of Stockholm, was a heathen central place and a long-standing stronghold against the new religion. An enormous heathen hall like this reconstruction in Norway was the main meeting place at the time, the local and regional center for economic, political and religious matters, a crossroads and a center for collective social interaction. And with Christianity, the hall was replaced by a cathedral. The new local, regional, and to some extent even national center for political, economic, and religious matters. The new center for collective social interaction. And in each parish, the parish church fulfills the same social function. Fast forward to the beginning of the 20th century. Sweden is still an agrarian society, church still being the main hub for social matters. Life so hard that many Swedes chose to migrate to America. But during this century, Sweden undergoes a rapid urbanization and modernization. From the village to the city, from collectives to individualism, from kin, friends and allies to a strong society with strong institutions and general welfare. From religion to secularism, from homogeneity to heterogeneity and multiculturalism, from dependence to independence. And with modernity came a focus on rationality, order, efficiency and hygiene. Everything in its proper place. No dirty hodgepodge farmsteads with humans and animals, young and old, work and leisure, all blended in one and the same place. And no religion but science and engineering. As the World Values Survey cultural map illustrates, Sweden is today the world leader in secularism and individual self-expression. And so are the rest of the previous Viking countries of the north. No more heathens in Odin's Hall, no Christians in the cathedral, and no generation housing at the farmsteads, but a multitude of independent individuals and a welfare state. But secular self-expression is not the end of the story. As mentioned by Natasha and Hillevi, who couldn't make it today, at the beginning of this year, Sweden got its very first national strategy to tackle loneliness. It turns out that the independent freedom from others can also foster loneliness, and loneliness is a threat to public health. And with the multiculturalism and socio-economic polarization, independence and the rational separation of activities, people, and residential areas also fosters segregation. And segregation also happens to be a threat to public health. Following this, at the municipal level in Uppsala today, we've got political assignments such as these. We must promote social inclusion for an aging population, and we must break down segregation and strengthen social cohesion. So for the remainder of this presentation, I will talk about how Uppsala municipality go about addressing these issues and answering to the political assignments from an aging and age-friendly perspective. So, if we have a problem with loneliness among the elderly, the modern and rational solution must be social meeting places for the elderly. Thus, more than 20 years ago, Uppsala municipality launched the concept of meeting places 65+. No pagan hall or Christian cathedral for everyone, but a rational solution for the elderly, by the municipal administration for the elderly, not to be confused by meeting places for young people, or meeting places for students, or meeting places for adults, or meeting places for people with disabilities. In the beginning, the meeting places for 65+ were basically places to meet up for a joint Swedish coffee, with opportunities for creative activities and staff who facilitated this. With time, the meeting places were gradually diversified and professionalized, from coffee to different sorts of activities for different sorts of people, from focusing on social interaction as such to offering a wide range of activities linked to different perspectives on health for different interests. Knowledge-based lectures, social, physical, and cultural activities, both indoors and outdoors. And the personnel recruited to the meeting places were now increasingly physiotherapists, health educators, and the like. With increasing professionalization came a stronger focus on evidence and evaluations. New initiatives and innovations are launched, tried up, followed up, and developed further. A few years ago, the meeting places for the elderly also addressed their absence in the countryside with a drive for mobile meeting places. In collaboration with local partners, personnel pop up for meeting place activities at certain times and places in the countryside. It is a flexible way to share and optimize the use of venues between different actors. Today, 7 out of 15 meeting places are mobile units in the countryside. Cooperation, mobility, and flexibility is key. Last year, in collaboration with the meeting places, the City Library in Uppsala developed a series of lectures that can be attended in various flexible ways. Depending on your preferences and needs, you can come to the lecture at the City Library and physically sit in the audience, or you can watch the lecture digitally together with others at a meeting place, or you can watch it at home. With time, there was also more frequent collaborations with other actors. Throughout the municipal organization and with different NGOs. And with this, a stronger focus on intergenerational activities as well. Intergenerational activities and venues are win-win contexts battling ageism on 2 fronts. Uppsala Summer Zone is a summertime free-of-charge open space for different activities. It was launched as a municipal initiative for children, but the meeting place is 65+, soon joined to develop the intergenerational meeting place it is today. And a project for intergenerational meetings organizes meetups between elderly persons at the meeting places 65+ and kids in school. Young and old hang out for a while, doing intergenerational activities together. And well aware of the challenges and shortcomings of the meeting places to reach out to and attract people from every walk of life and every kind of background, they have launched different solutions to address this. Online videos of meeting place venues is a chance to get more acquainted to your local venue before your first visit. Specific welcoming days make sure personnel are available to give you the best first welcoming to a meeting place. And at some senior lunches at schools, meeting place personnel are present to welcome you and help you out. After standing at the entrance of the local grocery shop, connecting to passers-by face to face, a meeting place in a segregated district managed to severely increase the amount of visitors from hard-to-reach immigrant groups. To summarize, Uppsala's meeting places 65+ has gone a long way from a 20th century modern and rational answer to the modern problem of lonely elderly people, to a rekindling of the age-old Northern Viking wisdom of man being the joy of man. Social connections must not be understood as a rational tool to cure loneliness, performed at specific meeting places as hospitals. Loneliness among the elderly, among the middle-aged and among the young is not a curious disease to diagnose and to treat. Loneliness is a sign of societal and communal dysfunction. Social connections are not a pastime or an activity. It is the very fabric of human life in itself, no matter your age. From being a distinct municipal institution and tool for curing loneliness among the elderly, the Uppsala meeting places 65+ are step-by-step developing an adaptive, intergenerational, living social network of competent and willing people in collaboration. People being people among people. Reinventing society as society. A great big hall or cathedral for all. Thank you.
Your glasses, Penny? Which is, by the way, our first age-friendly sort of tool, the glasses. Thank you so much. Don't say we're not diverse here. You know, we went from architect to a history lesson. And a fun fact as well, Vikings didn't count years, they counted winters. I love that fact. So we move over to Ramona, who will present creating inclusive library communities and age-friendly interest groups through provision of 6 additional services. The floor is yours.
Dear participants of the conference, my name is Ramona Jacevic, and I'm here today to represent the Public Library of Galicians, located in the city of Ventspils in Latvia. With its number of residents reaching almost 33,000, Ventspils is the 6th largest city in Latvia and is called by many the library capital of Latvia, as we have 7 public library branches there. Our branch operates in a new building constructed just 3 years ago, and it is located in a quiet residential area of 1- and 2-story family houses with gardens. There are no plants, no factories, no company headquarters, no pubs, no other loud places, just the library, a kindergarten and the local writers' museum. And this writer was the founder of our library branch. Speaking about the cornerstones of our work, I must definitely mention the ideas expressed by the following 2 quotes. And the first quote belongs to American professor David Lankes, and he has said that bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, and great libraries build communities. And another person, Dan Wilkins, has said that a community that excludes even one of its members is no community at all. Let's have a brief look at our library's history. For the first 49 years, the Public Library of Galicians operated in the former pastor's house. Those were the Soviet times, and the premises, as you can all see, were in a very shabby condition, with just +8 degrees Celsius indoors during the winter. For the next 20 years, the library operated in an apartment-sized space of the adjacent building under one roof with the local doctor's office. And it took almost 10 years from the idea of constructing a brand new library building in Galicians serving as a multifunctional service center to the beautiful final result we've been enjoying since August the 4th, 2023. As a team of 4 women who had never before worked together, we had to face our new obligation to provide 6 additional services for at least the following 10 years. We had to serve as a safe creative space, offering a multitude of traditional and modern craft workshops. We had to explore the nature and our local heritage. We had to organize events looking at the literature from writer's perspective, promote storytelling, and cherish our local Ventini dialect. We had to hold different folklore and folk wisdom themed workshops and events. We had to help people research their family history and build their family trees. And we had to support people in learning and applying their digital capacities and skills. And not counting these 6 services, we are also a meeting place and a support place for people with visual and reading impairments. Let's have a look at each service separately. We continue collecting local history materials, which is actually very easy. For people of older generations are eager to bring to us everything they believe needs to be kept for future generations. To promote the local neighborhood, we have created our QR code route. And the head of our branch, Krista Karabeshko, has written a master thesis titled Galicians Neighborhood in Residents' Memories and Sources of History, which has helped us a lot in understanding the local community and the services they might be interested in. And so, the residents of Galicians have always felt a strong attachment to their place of living and people around them. It is not typical for a person to build a home there and move away several years later. People stay in Galicians for their whole lives, and in most cases, several generations live under the same roof, helping each other. The local traditions and the Ventini dialect are kept alive. People celebrate and overcome difficulties together. Although today's situation allows oneself to be independent, people of Galicians still view the community as an essential part of their lives. They are always happy to share what they have in excess with others. Younger generations, though they differ from older ones, love that everybody in the neighborhoods has a similar lifestyle, so it's easy to avoid conflicts. And the neighborhood is quiet and safe, and so the life feels somehow predictable and controllable. In terms of exploration of the nature, our most popular event is the annual mushroom picking tour with an expert. People of all ages come together, have a great walk followed by a lunch in the seaside forest, in parallel learning about different edible and poisonous mushrooms and their various uses, for example, for yarn dyeing, cloth dyeing, creation of artworks, etc. The walk is traditionally followed by a mushroom-themed exhibition at the library. Also, our monthly gardening, permaculture, and heirloom seed cherishing events are well attended by people of various backgrounds. Next, we have our monthly creative writing classes / book club meetings hosted by the local nationally acclaimed writer Christine Uhlberg, and our monthly themed storytelling events. The core of the storytellers group is formed of seniors who have known each other for 15 years and they've become friends. In addition to this, we regularly host different literature-related workshops, braille typing, punching and deciphering workshops for preschoolers, students and adults of all ages. Our most loved events regarding folklore and folk wisdom are our traditional cooking workshops. We've had a lot of these during the previous years, and you can see some examples on the screen. In addition, all kinds of people are happy to attend our cross-generational folk celebrations, folk game mornings, folk song sing-alongs, or learn to play the Latvian string instrument kokle. The next service on our list is family history. We have made a booklet, Resources for Family History Research, as a starting point for everyone. And we regularly invite various genealogy experts to help our community members build their family trees and find out all they can about their ancestors. We promote people's interest in family history from an early age, as early as preschool. In terms of improving people's digital literacy, it is important to mention that we hold tech support sessions for seniors every Friday and help people solve various technological problems on a daily basis. For example, if they don't know how to make videos of their grandkids, we help them, and so on. We are extremely happy to provide services to people with different visual and reading impairments whenever they come to us, and there are 368 people, if I'm not mistaken. We have large print books, books in easy-to-read language, audio books, and braille books. We also do our best to raise awareness about people who see and experience the world differently, by hosting braille workshops and integrating people with visual and reading impairments into libraries' events. And of course, we have also special events just for people who are blind or who have low vision. And last but not least is our activities in traditional crafts. We hold craft workshops for people of all ages and levels of expertise every or almost every week, depending on the season, sometimes several times a week. We regularly invite master crafters to share their best practice and teach the local community something new. We hold alive the Latvian joint evening spending tradition called Vakarēšana by organizing joint crafting evenings. And we organize various exhibitions on crafts. And now let's proceed to our library's largest and sweetest project so far. It's the project Radīts Gāliņciemam, which was initiated and curated by me and was carried out in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Public Library of Galicians. In January last year, we invited community members and institutions, from absolute beginners to professionals, to submit squares of 20 by 20 centimeters, created in any craft technique of their choice. Over the next 8 months, we held an exhibition of the submitted squares to inspire people to join us. We also visited public libraries in a number of nearby villages to meet locals willing to contribute to our project and to have some nice crafty moments together. They, in their turn, came to our library, bringing their beautiful creations with them. All in all, we received 1,090 knitted and crocheted squares made from yarn and recycled cloth strips, which made it possible to create 43.5 square meters of fabric, or in other words, garments for 9 trees growing outside the library. We had around 250 contributors of squares and buttons from Ventspils and other places in Latvia. It became a nationwide project once people heard about it. And the participants included the local kindergarten, who brought to us a big box of squares. And as the kindergarten is called Little Bee, those were bee-colored squares. So one tree is dressed up in bee colors. If you wonder why the buttons were needed, the buttons were needed for fastening, because we wanted to create sustainable tree garments that we could easily put on and take off whenever necessary during the following years. And each time we do that, we organize an outdoor event under the trees. And of course, when we received the squares, we had to put them together. And I was accompanied by 8 diligent volunteers who helped me to sew the squares together in a shockingly short time, 10 days. When we worked 14 to 16 hours daily. And our biggest contributor to the project was an elderly lady named Velta Laksdiņa from the local retirement home Selga. Having returned from the Siberian exile alive and definitely being a hard-working person, she crocheted 200 squares. After the anniversary event, during which the results of our project was presented and the biggest contributors greeted, we organized an exhibition of Velta Laksdiņa's needlework as well. And what were the positive outcomes of the project? Velta Laksdiņa told us that the project helped her find a new goal to keep living and be useful. And after being visited by journalists from the local newspaper, and after a newspaper article was published on what Velta has done, people got inspired that she's so talented and creative and started visiting her. There were no relatives, no friends, but they wanted to meet this nice lady, and they spent their time with her and brought her different useful presents, for example, yarn, craft books, and free patterns. Speaking about other people, they expressed their gratitude to us that the project helped them find new acquaintances, overcome serious depression, including postpartum depression for young mothers. The project helped them get out of short and extended crafting slumps. Sometimes people hadn't created something with their hands for 10 or 15 years, and this was the reason to start doing that. And the project also inspired to learn something new. Also, my colleague learned to crochet especially for this project. And our project was also praised on the national level when we received a certificate of recognition from the Latvian Landscape Architecture Association as the only non-professionals nominated for the Latvian Landscape Architecture Award. And so, with my presentation nearing the end, I'd like to mention the things that help us ensure the survival of interest groups. Firstly, it is awareness of our regular visitors' tastes, interests, any strong opinions, beliefs, and preferences. Secondly, constant updating of our interest-based database and timely informing people about any upcoming events they might like to attend. Our senior visitors prefer direct calls because it's another reason to have a great conversation and to find out something more about each event. Next, changing things if changes are necessary and adapting quickly to what the audience likes and dislikes. Fourthly, ensuring friendly treatment and creating a cozy atmosphere. This is especially important for the elderly people because we have a 6-meter high ceiling and it's not usually well accepted by seniors. They like lower ceilings. And fifthly, always listening to community suggestions. And finally, supporting people's proactivity and initiatives whenever we can. Sometimes we organize some pop-up events, like a group of people comes to us on an excursion and they say that they have this shy friend who has great paintings. And they will try to convince this person to put these paintings on display. And we say, go ahead. And the next day, the exhibition is on display. And people can enjoy her paintings. And when doing our work, let's remember Henry Ford's words that coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. I wish you all good luck in your daily strivings to make your community's life less lonely and more pleasant and meaningful. Thank you for your attention.
Wow, that was a beautiful example. I think we all just sat here and smiled. So diverse and so inclusive. That was absolutely lovely. Last but not least is Saya, who will talk about building community and reducing loneliness with Move Close groups and peer messengers. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to talk about the Move Close groups and the peer messengers that we have done in Turku, Finland. My name is Saija Kultala. I'm a senior specialist in the city of Turku and also the coordinator for Age-Friendly Turku. First, few words about the city of Turku. Turku is located in southwestern Finland, and it is the largest city of the region. It's only the 6th largest city in Finland, but the oldest. And Turku is turning 800 years in 2029, so we have a big birthday coming up soon. The population is about 200,000, and about 42,000 residents are over 65 years old, so it's about 21% of the population. And Turku has been a member of the Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities since 2019. Then I'll tell you a little bit about the challenges that older people face in Turku. First of all, functional capacity of the plus 65-year-old people. About 12% experience loneliness, and that's a bit more than the 5 other big cities in Turku. About 20% of the people aged 75 or more have major difficulties walking 500 meters. So as you can imagine, for those people, it's getting quite hard to find hobbies or to participate in different activities. 68% of the plus 65 years old exercise less than is recommended for their health. And this number is also a bit bigger in Turku than in other 5 big cities in Finland. The service network and the accessibility. We noticed that there were quite many gaps and also concentrations in low threshold activities or hobbies. So we had a little bit regional inequality of the hobbies for the older people. We also had too few activities designed for those with lower functional capacity. We also found out that there was a big need for community encounters and participation, and this was told to us by the older people themselves. Reaching the older people and communicating, marketing the hobbies for them was also a really big problem, as you said earlier. There was a lack of accessible information about the hobbies and activities. We had tried a lot of different things before, but nothing seemed to work. There were always a lot of people who couldn't find the hobbies and activities for them. We've also found out that there was a strong need for more outreach and a searching work. So this means that we really need to go where the people are and search them to come to the hobbies. There was also limited involvement of older people in planning the marketing and the communication. We wanted to change this also. Then we thought what to do. How can we solve these challenges or problems that we are facing? We decided that we need a really vast partner network, and we want to create a plan to increase physical activity, functional capacity, inclusion, and feel of community in older adults. From the get-go, we decided that associations should play a central role in the collaboration and arranging group activities in residential areas. We decided that we need to arrange open for all, free of charge, group-based, low-threshold physical activity groups that are available close to every residential area in Turku. We also need to change the marketing and the communication. So the last thing we decided was that we need to try new methods that we haven't tried before. Emphasizing on searching work, encounters, and face-to-face communication. So as I said, go to where the people are and share the information straight to them. So this is how it all works at the moment. On the right upper corner, the city of Turku, we have a funding role and overall coordination of this whole plan in Turku. We give 2 different kinds of fundings. On the right side, we give funding for arranging the groups. So different associations, for example, associations working with older people or sports club, sports associations, get once a year funding so that they commit to arrange the group for the next year. We also give funding for coordinating the groups. This means that Turun Lähimmäispalvelu Association, I'm sorry, it's really hard to translate it, so it's in Finnish. They coordinate all the groups, meaning that they negotiate with the associations when, where, and which association is going to work in which area, for example. The same association, Turun Lähimmäispalvelu Association, is also coordinating the marketing and doing the searching work in the areas. They have, for example, recruited and coordinating a peer messengers network. At the moment, they have over 75 peer messengers that I will tell you a bit more about later. But they are the ones who lure the people to the groups and give the information on the residential areas. Then we also have partners that give the spaces for the groups free of charge. So we have, for example, parishes, community rooms, businesses, housing companies, etc., that give the spaces for these groups for free. And that's a really, really big thing for us. So what are the Move Close groups in reality? First, and really important thing, the groups are shaped by the participants. So we don't decide what they do on each group. They decide themselves what they want to do in their Move Close groups in their area. Normally, the activities can include anything done together that involves movement. For example, easy games, light exercise, outdoor activities in the nearby nature, body maintenance, etc. The key elements, though, are that we have really encouraging and accepting atmospheres. This means that everyone can participate according to their individual abilities and interest. So you don't have to commit to these groups, you don't have to register, pay anything. It's really easy way just to come around and check the group out if this could be something that I would like to do. The other very important thing is that the focus is on the social contact, building the social network, and building the sense of community. So not the exercise, not the physical activity. The most important thing is the social network and building it. These meetings take place once a week in really central locations at the residential areas. So we don't go to big sports halls or any other kind of sports facilities. We use the spaces that we have at the residential areas. So it could be anything from a shopping mall to a parish rooms or something like that. So really a variety of different kind of spaces are used. At the moment, there are about 40 groups, and they geographically cover most of the neighborhoods in Turku. On the map in the left, you can see that where there is a lot of red color, that means there is more people over 65, and on the south there is countryside, and on the north there is countryside, and in the south there is archipelago islands. So most of the population is in the middle there, and as you can see, the dots are the Move Close groups, and the circles around them are 1 kilometer and 500 meters from the group. So you can see that a really big part of the residents can reach the groups in 500 meters. So half of the participants come from within 500 meters to these groups. At the moment, in year 2024, we had 1,200 different participants in these groups. We have over 40 organizations, I think almost 50, working together to arrange this whole thing. And in 2024, the groups achieved a total of 19,200 exercises or workouts if you count them all together. And this year it's going to be over 20,000 workouts done in these groups. I'll just show you quickly the partners. As you can see, we have quite a variety of partners: housing companies, elderly care centers, activity centers, associations, sport association, parishes, schools and libraries, businesses, etc. So we are really grateful for all of these partners to make this happen. Then few results of the groups. These results are from a questionnaire filled out in these groups. So the answer rate is quite high. Most of the groups, 70%. 63% report participation improved their physical condition. 74% report that their mood has improved by participating in these groups. 86% report positive effects on functional ability and coping in daily life. 87% made new friends by coming to the group. And over 50% feel that the community spirit in their area has increased because of this group arranged there. Then a bit about the peer messengers, which I think is probably the most interesting part of the work here. So the peer messengers inspire older adults to participate in the groups. Turun Lähimmäispalvelu Association coordinates and implements the communications, and peer messengers is one part of this. Each neighborhood has also its own specific advertisement or flyer that the association makes. And as I said, about 25 active peer messengers at the moment share information about these groups in their areas. So that could, for example, include distributing the flyers in the neighborhood, informing their friends and local networks, promoting activities in community spaces, encouraging and also sometimes accompanying the older people to these groups, sharing information on social media, and participating in different kind of events and introducing these activities there. The picture on the right is from peer messengers meeting, that they are gathering all the different flyers in each neighborhood and are getting ready to distribute them in the areas. And here we can see that it's actually really effective to go where the people are. So almost 75% of the participants in these groups find the information through the work that the peer messengers are doing. So when they distribute the flyers in stairwells, mailboxes, local shops, and etc., or when they are doing the face-to-face encounters, it is actually much more effective than, for example, newspaper ads. We in Turku, we are not very talkative. We are quite introverts. So this means a lot to me that some older gentleman over 80 years old has said about the groups. Here even a Turku native dares to speak to another. So this means a lot. This really tells everything about the groups. And there are some photos of the groups. For example, the middle one is from a shopping mall where they train every week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thought that was very inspiring. You've cracked the code as well for the information that I was talking about. Peer messengers. I love the illustration as well. Da-da-da! Yeah. So I think we can agree we had 4 excellent examples who deserve another applause. Now for my strict timekeeper, do we have time for questions?
We need to make it 5, a little bit plus.
Okay. So, if I can ask you to say something about what has been maybe one of your main barriers in the development of your different projects, and also how did you overcome it? Dominique, do you want to start?
Yes, I mean, it's a little bit hard to talk about a specific challenge because it's a group of projects. But I think, there are some key questions that always need to be addressed, and that is how the places can stay relevant and how to keep community engagement, I think is key to the development of any age-inclusive or age-friendly meeting place, and also how to ensure that the specific transformation projects that are carried out actually cater to the wishes of the people, and how the groups don't feel estranged by the professional intervention that is being done, I think is a key question in every project.
Absolutely. And what's the answer? More involvement of older people in co-creation, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you. Slightly leading there, I know. Kenny, what would you say?
I think perhaps it was in my presentation as well that we're sort of struggling with how we are used to do things. And just for the record, I love modernity and science and all that, of course. So my discussion is from that perspective. Okay, we do a lot of good things. We have a lot of really excellent societies, but we are in a culture of compartmentalization of different things, different groups, different areas of expertise, and how we arrange ourselves. So I think that's perhaps the main thing that our meeting places 65 plus has challenged step by step, together with others and together with the elderly, to find the network instead of the silo.
Silos,
yeah,
yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Working across sectors and organizations like Turku has. What about you, Ramona?
For me, it's probably the lack of financing sometimes, because the demand is higher than we can organize by using our budget. But we will become highly inventive in this sphere, because in terms of craft workshops, we are slowly moving towards trash into treasure type of events, and also zero waste events. So yes, and also the second problem is being understaffed sometimes, yes, because there is only 4 of us working there at the library, and we solve this by using our friends and relatives' help. Hello to my husband. He's a frequent helper, together with our son, who loves helping.
Thank you so much. Saya?
I think that the main challenge is that the residential areas are really different from each other. So you really need to use time and effort to explore what kind of specialities, what kind of problems each area has. So I think that has been maybe a little barrier, but we have found the solutions so far. So
you really have.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again. Now I think there's a break.
No. A few minutes before break, but then we have a break. But let's give a big warm hand to our panel. And thank you for some really interesting and varied presentations, ranging from physical features to historical views of our societies and how to work with intergenerational physical and social activities. I should mention perhaps also we are quite a diverse group here today. Our youngest participant is 4 months old, so I think also we can applaud ourselves for being diverse. We wanted to give you... Is this one running, or did I just... Maybe I pushed it with my elbow. We wanted to give you just a little heads up about the parallel sessions that you can choose between after the break. So if I could just invite Natalie Turner, please come up here. And you come up here maybe, and Yongjie. So... maybe we should just take them in turn. We'll just say briefly 30 seconds about each parallel session and where it is, and we've put some more information on the wall for you guys. And I'll let us do break after that.
So, have you ever wondered what we do in this house? So, wonder no more. We have a couple of our colleagues coming from our digital health, data, artificial programs to come, as well as our mental health programs, to share about what we do here in this house, how we collaborate across the UN system, across different technical areas, but more importantly, to engage with you how we can work better together with you. So a very short preview of our discussion, so please join us. It's in this room.
No, it's me, sorry. Yes. So, you are quite a diverse participant group, so ranging from municipalities, organizations, ministries, authorities, and research. So we wanted also with these parallel sessions to address a little bit of these differences. And in the session that I'll be moderating in the press room, just down the hallway to the left before the stairs, it's workshop, but you are also invited as participants to ask questions for PhD students. So we explore research, ongoing research on age-friendly communities. We have 2 PhD students with us from Tampere University in Finland, Annika Rantala. Her project is based on qualitative fieldwork in 3 suburban Finnish cities, looking at meeting places, social hubs, and community cafes, that support inclusion and well-being of older people. And then an industrial PhD candidate from Sweden, Helena Björbeck, affiliated with Linköping University and the Municipal Welfare Services in Gothenburg. And she combines several layers of analysis, registered analysis, and qualitative interviews with professionals and a policy analysis to understand how local welfare systems can organize preventive support for older adults facing complex social problems. And we have 2 excellent discussants with us, Christine Svane, Director and Head of Research at the EGV Foundation, and Marie Konge-Nielsen, Associate Professor from the University College Absalon and University of Southern Denmark with us. They will discuss, you will hear a bit about the research, and you get a chance to ask questions as well. And this session is open for all.
I will be quick. I'm keeping you from your coffee, aren't I? Our session is the one on the far right, and what we're going to be doing is based around a small brochure that a colleague of mine in Greater Manchester published this year about some of the key skills and principles around leading age-friendly initiatives in your local area. And we've got some three people who are doing exactly that, who will talk about their experiences, and then it'll be an opportunity for those of you leading this work or working very closely on the ground with each other to figure out what you're doing already and how you might talk to what's working for you and where you need to think about your leadership locally. That is a session that is prioritised for people actually working on age-friendly communities in cities. I know lots of might be researchers and others interested, but if you kind of hang out on the edges and see how much space there is, we do want to make sure that there's an opportunity for people doing this work on the ground to talk to each other about how that feels.